Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much for tuning in. Hit subscribe to this channel right now, ladies and gentlemen. Twitter Files Part 4 has been released. Parts 1, 2, and 3 were groundbreaking. They showed that, without a shadow of a doubt, government got involved. Twitter and loyalists or government agencies like the Federal Bureau of Investigation broke First Amendment laws. There was no reason, for example, to remove Trump from Twitter. There's no reason at all. Yet that happened. And we're going to talk about why that happened. The Twitter Files Part 4 explain that to my super chat. I cannot thank you enough, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to talk about this topic, the economy, foreign policy, any issue, especially the Twitter Files Part 4 or 1, 2, and 3 via Super Chat, I can't do this, ladies and gentlemen, without you, so your Super Chat support is greatly appreciated. For the next 4 minutes, 5 minutes, I'm going to read the Twitter Files verbatim. I might leave out some names or some words simply because of the way these live streams have to be run. But I will read them, and I will thank you for the Super Chat, if there is Super Chat, right after I read everything in chronological order in terms of the tweets. Let's get started. Michael Schellenberger is the journalist now releasing Twitter Files Part 4. The removal of Donald Trump. Twitter Files Part 4, as the pressure builds. The removal of Donald Trump, January 7th. As the pressure builds, Twitter executives build the case for a permanent ban. On January 7th, senior Twitter execs create justification to ban Trump. They had to create justification. They didn't have a justification. He was never indicted or accused in a court of law. They couldn't prove their outlandish, absurd claims that he had caused the chaos and the mayhem. They had a whole summer of $1 to $2 billion in property damage, with Democrats giving tacit approval. The same thing happened also after the Dobbs decision. Tacit approval Democrats gave to chaos and mayhem. 19 lives lost according to Wikipedia. And by the way, I support people who demonstrated that summer. I don't support the fact that Democrats completely ignored buildings set ablaze right behind a CNN journalist. Fiery but mostly peaceful. But then with Trump, they make the usual absurd apoplectic leaps of logic. Pony Soldier, thank you. Thank you, everybody. So let's continue. Seek a change of policy for Trump alone, distinct from other political leaders. Express no concern for the free speech of democracy or democracy implications of a ban. The Twitter Files is reported with Leighton Woodhouse. These are true journalists, ladies and gentlemen. By the way, these journalists are left-leaning or liberal, but they are true journalists because they will report on the corruption, the criminality on the left. Okay, that's what Democrats cannot stand, the truth about their political party. That's why you have that's why you have people disowning friends and family, people. Because they don't know the criminality or corruption. They think that Trump is the embodiment of everything horrible under the sun. And they don't realize that the epicenter of corruption is the Democratic Party. Silencing millions and millions of people, silencing and banning a sitting president, without him being accused in a court of law. And they lied. They lied through their teeth. They lied under oath. And this is something that's extremely, extremely, extremely important, ladies and gentlemen. Everyone should pay attention to this. So, for those catching up, please see Part 1, where Matt Taibbi documents how senior Twitter executives violated their own policies to prevent the spread of accurate information about Hunter Biden's laptop. They were worried about the truth. That's why they had to suppress the truth. They had to suppress the truth because the truth about the Democratic Party makes you vote Trump or DeSantis. The truth about the Democratic Party makes you vote against the Democratic Party, or just, compels you to just stay at home and not vote. Part 2, where Bari Weiss shows how senior Twitter execs created secret blacklists to de-amplify disfavored Twitter users, not just specific tweets. And part 3, where Matt Taibbi documents how senior Twitter execs censored tweets by Trump in the run-up to November of 2 years ago, while regularly engaging with representatives of U.S. government law enforcement agencies. That is breaking the First Amendment. These law enforcement agencies never leveled an accusation against Trump, indicted or arrested him for breaking the law. Yet they treated him as if he was a lawbreaker. This is unconstitutional, and it's anti-democratic, and it's un-American. You cannot treat a president, I don't care what he says, and even lately, things that former President Trump has been saying has been or doing, has had me scratching my head thinking, okay, he just announced he has to focus on better optics, he has to appeal to independence. He can't kind of say certain things about the Constitution, but it doesn't really matter what anyone says. You can't treat a person like a criminal unless they're about to commit a criminal act, or basically unless they've committed a criminal act. Okay? And so that's what these government agencies did. The First Amendment protects people from government involvement. Okay? And he didn't tell anyone in January to do anything. And they didn't try to overthrow the government. If you think that people in 2 Januaries ago tried to overthrow the government, you are simply regurgitating the most absurd leap of logic and talking point by the Democratic Party. It was a terrible day. That day was repeated almost every day during that summer. Again, I support why people were demonstrating that summer. But Trump did not preside over $1 to $2 billion in property damage with buildings in flames. He didn't preside over that. These were Democratic-run cities, oftentimes, where we saw all of this chaos and mayhem. And federal buildings were also targeted by demonstrators. And police stations were set ablaze. And all of these things took place, and CNN said fiery but mostly peaceful. But with Trump, they had to ban him because his words caused people to commit crimes. Okay? This is the situation, ladies and gentlemen. Everybody here, hello. Everybody here, Marcus, Kevin, Dale, Curtis, Mikey, everybody here, M. Evram, hello. Jigsaw, hello. And so, for years, Twitter had resisted calls to ban Trump. Blocking a world leader from Twitter, it wrote in 2018, would hide important info, hamper necessary discussion around their words and actions. And so they changed their tune because they wanted Biden to defeat Trump. That's why. It was not about January. January was a pretext. They needed an excuse, so they got an excuse. That was the issue. It was an excuse. It was only an excuse. It was not a reason. They wanted to ban Trump because Trump, even when he says things that are out there, still reaches 60 to 70 million people who agree with him on policy, on foreign policy, on economic policy. Democrats cannot compete with that, so they needed him off the platform. People will not listen to Democrats or the authority, the individuals in authority that side with or create a consensus that's beneficial to the Democratic Party. They will not listen. That's why Democrats have to enforce these things on us on a local level, state level. It could be a lot of things. That's why they had to shut down businesses. People will still want to live their lives. They knew that. And people still did. The shutdowns did nothing. They shut down the economy and people were still having parties. You had mayors threaten to cut the power, water and power, to certain locations that still had house parties. People were still, they were all going to the supermarket all at once. You didn't stop life. What you did was destroy the economy. And you saved nobody's life because lives were ruined. And studies showed that it was, 0.2% positive in terms of lives saved. It's something absurd like that where, if you're not even counting the lives who have been ruined. There were people who didn't want a stimulus check. I know it's something that Democrats can't believe. There were people who wanted to actually work. Norman! Trump was simply standing up for his. Norman, thank you. Thank you, Norman, thank you. But after the events of January, the internal and external pressure on Twitter, CEO Jack Rose, from former First Lady Michelle Obama, tech journalist Kara Swisher, other groups, and many others publicly call on Twitter to permanently ban Trump. Dorsey was on vacation in French Polynesia the week of January 4th to the 8th, 2021. He phoned into meetings, but also delegated much of the handling to senior execs, Twitter global head of trust and safety, head of legal policy and trust. Look, these are true journalists. Michael Schellenberger, Matt Taibbi, Barry Weiss. These are true journalists. Okay? Joel Valdez! Exactly. But here's the political reality. Trump, unfortunately, the last year and a half of his presidency, or maybe the last year, I should say, engaged in a number of self-induced wounds. He gave his opponents layups, dunks. He fumbled the ball on the 1 yard line or threw a lot of interceptions, and they took that and they just squeezed the vice. And they said, oh, you know what? He caused all of this, even though he didn't in a court of law. And that's the thing. I think that Trump didn't understand what these people were able to do. That he didn't understand. Trump knows his strong points, that he knows his competitive advantages. He knows what he's good at. But I don't think now he understands what the opponent's competitive advantages are. Henry, man! Twitter has brought so much criminality to light. Yes, the latest Twitter release is exactly. Henry, thank you so much. Joel, thank you. I think that a lot of people don't realize that Trump is very, very good at understanding what he's capable of. He is sometimes, and God bless him, clueless at understanding what others are capable of. He underestimated his opponents or how they would react to chaos and mayhem. He doesn't understand optics either, and Democrats live off of optics. They don't live off of meritocracy or achievement. The economy categorically stinks. Inflation, poverty is up, inflation's through the roof. They don't care about any of that stuff. Poverty has increased. They don't care about that. Trump sees things as a businessman. Democrats see things as actors, actresses, politicians. They focus only on imagery, euphemisms. They distort and twist and manipulate words. They accuse Trump of things he didn't do, and people believe it because of the optics. Because of the optics. That terrible day in Virginia in 2017 had nothing to do with Trump. Nothing to do with Trump. Literally nothing to do with Trump. Media made it out to say, oh, he said both sides had good people. He condemned the horrible people who were pretending to be the 1930s and 1940s Germans. He condemned them. But they never told the truth. And he was talking, when he said good people on both sides, he meant conservatives, Republicans who wanted to keep statues up. But the optics are always lost on Trump. He doesn't understand. He doesn't understand what his opponents are good at. His opponents are good. Democrats are very good at silencing debate, discussion, discourse. They're very good at silencing debate, discussion, discourse, and controlling a narrative. When you have all of late night, in addition to social media companies, okay, and to my super chat, thank you again, ladies and gentlemen. We have all of media, and you're able to silence, like, I just recently found Trump's Truth Social, okay? It's impossible to find. And he is now going through the media that despises him. So, I mean, we'll continue, but they banned him, and that was a huge negative for Trump in that, I mean, he was losing his ability to communicate on Twitter anyway, but that was a huge defeat politically for Trump, a huge defeat politically, just because Twitter was like, Stephanie, thank you. Just because Twitter was turning into like some kind of credit score on a societal level. And so they were able to say, oh, he's too extreme for Twitter. And they knew that would help Democrats. As context, it's important to understand that Twitter staff and execs were overwhelmingly progressive. In 2018, 2020, and 2022, 96, 98, 99% of Twitter's staff's political donations went to Democrats. Well, there you go. Trump has to understand that. DeSantis does too. I know that he understands that, but he has to find a way to flip the script. How is this now a negative? Politically, for Democrats, why would it be a negative? Because they're silencing the Hunter Biden story that shows graft and felony schemes. And the government officials, and Twitter lied to people. Twitter's CEO, all of these people said, well, we're just hiding behind bureaucracy. There's nothing that we can do. No, they created a new bureaucracy. They created a new bureaucracy. I mean, all of these things were done on the fly. All of these things were created. Like, Trump went from, I don't even know, like tens of millions of followers. I don't even really know how many he had followers on Twitter. He went from like being the most important person in all of Twitter to being kicked off and not having an ability. He was kicked off of every other platform too. And then unfortunately, I think he tried to sue, but then, you know, I think he tried to sue. I'm not sure if he did, but he has to find a way to communicate. But anyway, they just they did this because they could. They did this because they could. That's the issue. So it had nothing to do with keeping people safe. And that's another way they lie. In 2017, Raw tweet, there are actual, okay, there you go. That's absurd. Trump was the greatest president for people of my background or religion or faith. The greatest we've ever had. Moving the embassy to Jerusalem. Recognizing the Golans as Israel's. I mean, you can go on signing executive order combating anti-Semitism on college campuses. You can go, I mean, the Abraham Accords, we can just go on forever. Okay. That's why religious people of my faith and background love Trump. The average person, like in the country that I had my bar mitzvah in, loves Trump. Okay. The atheist of my background, or the person who happens to be an atheist or agnostic or whatever, which is fine, but don't replace religion with the Democratic Party. That's where you get, oh my God, Trump this, Trump that. It's like, well, you're watching too much CNN and MSNBC. In April 2022, Roth told a colleague that his goal is to drive change in the world, which is why he decided not to become an academic. Well, but what you did was silence debate, discussion, dialogue, and discourse. You did all of these people who were worried about information that misinforms. The greatest dilemma, obstacle, threat, tragedy humanity faces is the silencing of voices, not voices that could provide information that misinforms. Information that misinforms is a subjective viewpoint. It is opinion. They don't say false information for a reason, because what they truly mean is an opposing viewpoint. You've been misinformed. Oh no, you've been misinformed. Well, how do you know? Oh, because, you said some things that just aren't accurate. Well, no, actually, it's true that Trump never worked with Russia. You're wrong. No, you've been misinformed. The intelligence community said Trump worked with Russia. No. You've been misinformed, actually. Clinton purchased a Steele dossier. Sussman gave an absurd Alpha Bank story to Baker at the Federal Bureau of Investigation. The only thing he wasn't indicted for was lying. But they didn't, the actual act of deceiving, or the actual act of filtering and disseminating false information about Trump is apparently quite legal. People believe only lies about Trump. Again, the optics. It's not right, it's not fair, it's not just. But the Democrats are winning the political battle against Trump. Trump is not winning right this second the political battle. He has to go and he has to get back. He has to do exactly what he did in 2015 and 2016. Eric Samurai, hello. He has to become what he was in 2015 and 2016, which was fearless. He went on CNN, MSNBC, had no problem at all. Now he's just at Mar-a-Lago and, not really communicating to the world. Any communication you have about Trump generally is filtered through an apoplectic, hysterical media apparatus that despises him. He has to circumvent that. And when we know now that, we know they lied through their teeth. Nobody lies more than the Democrats who complain about Trump lying. Nobody is more deceitful or nobody is engaged in a greater con, or this is all the things they accuse Trump of, than former Twitter employees who literally had to create their own rules. Their existing guidelines allowed Trump, Trump did not even break their existing. He actually, the day of, stated, oh, hey, be peaceful. Then they said he waited an hour. It's okay, well, now you're nitpicking. Now you're saying a whole bunch of things. So you do acknowledge that he told people to remain peaceful. Oh, so which one is it? Did he try to overthrow the government? Or did he wait too long to tell people to remain peaceful? They're all over the place all the time, but it really doesn't matter. I mean, they just run on emotion anyway. Joel Valdez! We need to call them manipulation agencies. We need to call them manipulation agencies, exactly. Joel, thank you, I agree. They do manipulate, and they manipulate with... They're very, very good at the optics, the imagery, the words, the euphemisms, the political. They're very good at politics. Trump is good at creating massive change and revamping the GOP into a populist political party, and his policies were very good policies in terms of the economy and foreign policy, but Nobody on the left and a lot of independents don't remember that. They just focus on the media hysteria. And we're seeing now with Twitter 4.0, we're seeing that they did this on purpose, Joel. They did this on purpose because they could. And they knew that they were gaining as much power as possible. This is corruption. This is the definition of corruption. Absolute power corrupts, absolutely. At 11:30 a.m. Pacific time, Twitter official DMs his colleagues with news that he is excited to share. Guess what? Jack just approved repeat offenders for civic integrity. The new approach would create a system where 5 violations would result in a permanent suspension. They just wanted to suspend everyone conservative, knowing that conservatives would generally state things that were deemed as mean or horrible or information that misinforms, which means a viewpoint or opinion the Democrats don't have a rebuttal for. They don't have a rebuttal, Joel and everybody here. They don't have a rebuttal to Trump. The only rebuttal to Trump, the only counterpoint, is that he's a madman. He's a madman. No, ban him. That's it. But then Trump plays into their hands a lot of times, see? You know, I used to love when Trump would just ruffle the feathers. Yeah, it's fantastic. But at a certain point, you create too much political momentum. Indignation is the fuel that Democrats survive on. Norman! Yes, I know, Norman. They are censoring that. They're censoring me too. It's every platform, as we're just finding out Twitter, but every platform is you can't say certain things. But it's unfortunately an issue. Norman, thank you. I apologize for that, Norman. Not my doing, but you know. Sorry, I guess we all, including myself, had to deal with this. But so Progress exclaims the members of the Trust and Safety team. The exchange between these officials and colleagues made clear that they had been pushing Jack for greater restrictions on the speech Twitter allows around Democratic contests. So there you go. Why do you think they were able to do this? Or why do you think they engaged in this course of action? Let's ask this. Why did Twitter gleefully ban Trump and censor and silence? Why did they Why did Twitter gleefully ban Trump and silence Hunter's laptop and conservatives? Because they had the power to do so and they were going to use it. Or to protect humanity. Okay? Why do you think they did this? And Trump has to ask this question. He understands. I mean, this is a rhetorical question. Okay, but you have to kind of understand the power politics, the real politic, the dynamics here. If your political opponents have the power to do this, they're going to engage in this behavior because it benefits them politically. How do you circumvent this as Trump or DeSantis? We know Twitter is no longer part of the Democratic Party. Debbie, hello. Twitter is no longer, the Yahtzee, hello. Twitter is no longer part of the Democratic Party anymore. Okay? That is very detrimental to the Democratic Party. Very detrimental. Okay? That is a huge obstacle for them now. How do you capitalize? Trump has to get back on Twitter. And I never thought I would say that because I was thinking, you know what, it's probably good that he's not on Twitter. Because a lot of the things he says, most of the things he says, turn into fuel for Democrats. Indignation is the lifeblood of the Democratic Party. Indignation, feeling morally superior, speaking really fast, and being apoplectic. Don't you understand if I'm apoplectic? Don't you understand if I'm apoplectic and hysterical? Then that means I'm right. That means the planet. Don't you understand that's the lifeblood? It's Trump. It was the Constitution now. The Constitution, he wants to rip it up. He wants to terminate it. Oh my God, Trump. That's the lifeblood of Democrats. You have to, when you get back on Twitter, when Trump gets back on Twitter, he has to communicate. He has to communicate. He must explain his vantage point in a clear and concise manner. Shavua Tov, Sinya Talupin, hello. He has to communicate and explain why he's better. Why is Trump better than mashed potato brains? In terms of the economy, in terms of foreign policy, he has to explain this. To my super chat, thank you again. I cannot do this without you, ladies and gentlemen. Your support is greatly appreciated. He has to explain why he's better. He can't just say, I'm Ephraim, hello, how are you? Thank you for asking for... Norman! They are censoring the name of the man who won. Norman! That's true. Norman, hello. Norman, thank you. It's something I have to deal with too. But let's continue. To my super chat, thank you. So they were desperate to silence Trump and conservatives and Republicans because Democrats don't have an actual rebuttal. Believe me, I've had the unfortunate pleasure or displeasure or whatever of debating morally superior liberal Democrats because I understand this. This is what I do. And I was from the left anyway. So I know everything they're going to say about Trump. I know everything that's true about Trump. I know all the lies they think are true about Trump. So I can have a discussion and tear down every single stupid thing they say and acknowledge if they happen to make a good point. It drives them batty. They can't deal with it. It's like speaking to it's like speaking to somebody who's been possessed by a demon. And they can't deal with it. My colleagues want to know if the decision means Trump can finally be banned. The person asks, does the incitement of change that calculus? Trump continues to have his one strike. So incitement is an opinion. He didn't incite anyone. Otherwise, he would have been accused of this in a court of law. Henry! Those who give up freedom for safety deserve neither safety nor freedom. Exactly. Very famous quote. Exactly. Pony Soldier, hello. Exactly. Henry, man. Thank you, Henry. To my super chat, I cannot do this without you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Thank you, Henry. Exactly. But there's also a political component to that also. Henry, if Trump said, do this, it'll keep you safe, they wouldn't do it. They only care about feeling safe when somebody they feel gives them political power, tells them to do something. If Trump said everything eventually, and the guy who speaks like this says, they wouldn't listen. But the guy who speaks like this loves Democrats. So they listen. Here's a dirty little secret about the Democratic Party or Democratic voters. They don't care about, they love socialism, some love communism, but it's not really about government. It's about the government they control. They don't like government, like Republicans or conservatives making choices where government gets involved in people's lives. They love when government gets involved in people's lives, and Democrats are telling and controlling government decisions. Oh, they love that. They do not love when conservatives are making decisions within the United States government. It's not really about reverence for government or authority or the Federal Bureau of Investigation or the DOJ. There's no reverence. The only reverence is people within authority, individuals within authority that benefit them. Then they love the government. Henry, thank you. Thank you, Henry. Thank you. To my super chat, thank you. I cannot do this without you. On January 8th, Twitter says its ban is based on specifically how Trump's tweets are being perceived and interpreted. There's no way to know this. His tweet had literally nothing to do with what took place. The people who committed crimes, many of whom are like languishing in prison and being mistreated, but the people, and that, like, the Democrats, you're talking about the morally superior among us who are the most vicious. There was an unarmed woman who lost her life. An unarmed woman. Okay? And other supporters of Trump who lost their lives. It's almost as if, like, Democrats will pick and choose what happened that day. Somebody was just led into the building. He was acquitted. Okay? But they still believe he tried to overthrow the government. Again, leaps of logic are the hallmark of most Democratic liberal arguments. Liberal arguments rely on leaps of logic. That's why they need to ban and silence people. When you call out the leaps of logic, suddenly the argument falls apart. Nothing Trump said encouraged anyone to commit any chaotic act. If that's true, then you have about 30 Democratic politicians who said even worse. You have Democratic politicians who said, get in people's faces. Get in people's face. You had Democratic politicians who said that. Joel Valdez. I have to inspect the place of ill repute tonight. Mitch, care to join?
Oh, Joe Valdez. I never thought I'd hear that from you, Joe. I never thought my precious Joe Valdez would engage in the sins. Joe Valdez, don't go, but if you go, call me. If you do go, then just give me a call. Give me a holler. But don't go. Don't engage in sins of the flesh. I urge you to listen to the angel on your shoulder telling you not to go. But if you do go, just go ahead and call me on my other cell phone. Okay, thank you. Totally supportive of Trump. I mean, not Trump. I mean, DeSantis. I mean, Democrats.
Anyway, Joel Valdez, thank you.
I've been seriously covered.
So, Joel Valdez, thank you. So, these are the arbiters of truth and justice, and they just happen to do everything that benefits Democrats. So, they just happen to lie all the time with impunity and, ban people they don't like. Well, there you go. There you go. On January 8th, Twitter says it bans policy on specifically how Trump's tweets are being perceived. Well, they couldn't even, to them, anyone who votes for Trump is a horrible person anyway. So how can they make any rational decision on how his tweets are being perceived? They have no clue how his tweets are being perceived. Yes, he's suspicious and he distrusts Democrats and he didn't accept results, just like Democrats didn't accept results. Stacey Abrams still thinks she's the governor of Georgia, but that apparently is no problem. But in 2019, Twitter said it did not attempt to determine all potential interpretations or the content. There's no way to interpret an interpretation of anything other than simply just accepting what the words mean. James, hello. So, this might be an unpopular opinion, but one-off ad hoc decisions like this don't appear rooted in policy, are, in my opinion, a slippery slope. This now appears to be a fiat by an online platform CEO with a global presence that can gatekeep speech for the entire world. Exactly. Exactly. So this was in a low-level Slack channel known as Site Integrity Auto. Nobody paid attention to it, but it's true. Twitter employees use the term one-off frequently in their Slack discussions. Its frequent use reveals significant employee discretion over when and whether to apply warning labels on tweets. That's the thing also. It was so Orwellian and stupid. Caution! Caution! Don't believe Trump! This is why, I would laugh every time I would see this, because Trump would be like, everything stinks. The Democrats are, everything stinks, results stink, everything stinks, it stinks, it stinks. And then you'd hear, caution, caution. Underneath a disclaimer, if you believe in what Trump is saying, you will believe in information that misinforms you. Go to www.hillaryclinton.com to get the truth on everything political. And they, who looked at that? What person on this planet looked at Twitter's caution labels and said, my goodness, there's a caution label on a tweet from Trump? Oh no, I'm being given information that's going to misinform me. Trump is showing division and causing me to distrust my pristine view of American democracy. But he worked for the Kremlin. We know this because John Brennan and James Clapper told us. And the Steele dossier said someone took a giant poop on Trump in a Moscow hotel room. This is all true. But Trump, he's so mean. And he's making me distrust my government. Anyway, recall from Twitter Files 2 by Barry Weiss that according to Twitter staff, we control visibility quite a bit, and we control the amplification of our content quite a bit, and normal people do not know how much we do. Well, there you go. But we knew this, but we didn't know they were so brazen. Debbie Donovan! Frank L. Summer was way more destructive than what happened. Yes, thank you. That's Summer, yeah. That's Summer, yeah, exactly. Debbie, thank you. That's Summer, yep. That's Summer, $1 to $2 billion in property damage. And I support why people are demonstrating. But I don't support all, people of, there were businesses owned by people of color who've had those businesses destroyed, torched. Why? For what purpose? And did Democrats ever complain? No, they didn't. No, they didn't complain. They didn't say anything about it. Debbie, thank you so very much as always. Jordan! Why can't Durham go after these people? Great question. I think that a lot of this is happening after the Durham Probe. I think what the Durham Probe tried to do is get a victory to prolong the special counsel into the next Republican Congress. So he wanted to just, because he didn't have Democrats in Congress, and media didn't give him the support he needed. So, and he went after, he tried to, he didn't go after actual like statutes that would talk about, a whole bunch of people conspiring. So, what Durham, he tried as best as he could to kind of prolong the special counsel, but at the end of the day, he did not have the political will he needed. Like if the Durham probe started this January, it would be game over. But because the Durham probe like started, the past 3 years, Trump every single year had less and less in terms of political allies. Now the entire House of Representatives will impeach Biden and, is an ally of President Trump. Okay, Trump Republicans own and run the House. I don't say own, but run the House. So, the Durham probe also, they thought that they could do the same thing as the Mueller probe. The Mueller probe could get people on perjury because you had agents and the government actually like stating, oh yeah, this person lied to us and we were duped. When in reality, that's not the case. With Durham, people were blatantly lying, and you had government officials saying, well, we don't really know if they were lying. I mean, honestly, they could have been lying. I mean, you know what? The information was a lie, but we kind of didn't believe it. We kind of did believe it. So it was just so convoluted. Jordan Weinberg, thank you so much, Jordan. He didn't go after 18 U.S. Code 371, which would have, he could have then stated that, Comey, Strzok, McCabe, all of these people committed crimes by setting up and framing Trump. That was the statute he could have used. Instead, he just wanted to recreate the Mueller probe, but the Mueller probe had political backing, media, juries, DC juries, and proving somebody lied under oath or to a Federal Bureau of Investigation official. You need those officials to actually side with prosecutors. Government officials were not siding with prosecutors because they didn't want the corruption to be truly exposed. So, for example, when Baker was lied to by Sussman, you had other officials within that agency say, well, you know what, who knows if what Sussman gave us would have changed our investigation of Trump. Of course it would have. They wouldn't have investigated the Alpha Bank nonsense, but instead of admitting to that, they just said, well, we don't really know. And the jury then said, oh, you know what, we're not going to convict on lying to the Federal Bureau of Investigation, or you had, for example, the informant, the Steele dossier informant, who was literally paid by Federal Bureau of Investigation agents, or by the Bureau itself. Of course, these agents are not going to say, yeah, we paid this person to lie to us. So instead of all of these people did lie, but what took place is they never admitted to those lies in a court of law. And then the jury said, well, you know what? We're not going to convict this person or that person on lying. These government officials are not backing what Durham is saying. So they hid behind bureaucracy. They do that all the time. Jordan, thank you so very, very, very much. Debbie, thank you. I agree with you, Debbie. I do agree with you on that. The summer prior to that was absolute chaos. Okay, officials immediately DM'd a colleague, asked what they thought of. Okay, so when they were complaining about Trump defeating Clinton, nothing was off limits. When Trump complained, everything was off limits. So that's the issue, ladies and gentlemen. When they complain about results, whether it's Hillary Clinton or Stacey Abrams or the average liberal on Twitter, when they don't like a defeat, and when they show suspicion, distrust, animus, disdain, when they're incredulous, That's okay. Like I said, Stacey Abrams still thinks she's the rightful governor of Georgia from 2018. Okay, but see, again, here's something that Trump needs to understand. They can get away with a lot. We're seeing that now with the Twitter revelations. And tomorrow will be part 5, people. I will have part 5 live stream at about 5:45 p.m. also, same time. Indeed, the officials state a quick search of the top, and they're okay. But they quickly came up with a solution: de-amplify accounts. So they're just blatantly had Twitter working for the DNC. That's what you'd get. Okay, that's good. So even Twitter says, like, Twitter is an extension of the Democratic Party. Of course, they're going to say something is compelling or inciting criminal activity. If indeed Trump did that, he would have been indicted, but he didn't do that, so he wasn't indicted. This was a judgment call based on political expediency. It helped Democrats, which helped Twitter executives. Their team won. They have the ability to alter the playing field, and they did so. And so employees struggle with a punished user to share screenshots of, so it's like, what if a user dislikes Trump and objects to Twitter censorship? The tweet still gets deleted. Around noon, a confused senior executive in advertising sales sends a DM. Jack says, we will permanently suspend Trump. Our policies are violating. Okay. What policies is any policy violation? Okay, so they just wanted to ban Trump and they wanted an excuse or pretext. See, again, Trump was banned not because he committed a crime. Trump was banned not because he committed a crime. Okay? It is a crime to incite criminal activity. That is an actual. These laws predate Twitter. Again, these laws predate Twitter. You don't need Twitter to reinforce laws that existed predating the platform. Okay? Speech is already, there are already laws governing speech prior to Twitter. When Elton John says, I don't want to be part of a platform that it spreads information that misinforms, why didn't he leave years ago? That's all Democrats were doing on Twitter, spreading information that misinforms all the time. That's all they do all the time. They make absurd leaps of logic. Trump was in a Moscow hotel room. False. That's not even information that misinforms. It's false. PH Joy, thank you. Thank you, PH Joy, thank you. Means a lot to me. I appreciate that. To my super chat, thank you again. But again, see, here's what like Trump needs to get back on Twitter immediately. Immediately. The ad exec is referring to Twitter's policy of public interest exceptions. So this is his last, Michael Schellenberger's last up-to-date tweet. The ad exec is referring to Twitter's policy of public interest exemptions, which allows the content of elected officials, even if it violates Twitter rules, if it directly contributes to understanding or discussion. See, we never had these problems in 2015 because Democrats understood that they had to deal with the truth. We never had these problems 6 years ago, 7 years ago, 8 years ago. We never had these problems. Once Democrats decided they should become the gatekeepers, the intermediaries, Senior, thank you. Once Democrats and media and Twitter decided they were all going to be, once people decided they were going to be an extension of the Democratic Party, suddenly the truth was now filtered through liberal sensibilities. Suddenly, information that could possibly be viewed in a different light, or an opinion, a viewpoint, a simple opinion. You know, an opinion doesn't have to be accurate. You can actually prove an inaccurate opinion wrong with a compelling argument. But an opinion that promotes distrust of Democrats is a terrible thing that must be silenced. So let's say Trump says something that isn't true, okay? Let's say Trump voices a grievance. Mikey, that'd be fantastic. Let's say Trump voices a grievance. Let's say Donald Trump voices a grievance or a viewpoint that would cause others to distrust the Democratic Party. You can simply, if you're the DNC or Biden or anyone who is a Democratic partisan, you could simply say, this is why he's wrong, and leave it at that. But what they do is they say his words are so horrible. They're so terrible. These words are so terrible that they're going to compel people to commit criminal acts. And they did not hold the same standard. What they saw in January happened every day in that summer. Again, I support people who demonstrated. I support the cause of why they demonstrated. I don't support $1 to $2 billion in property damage and 19 lives lost. And it's very likely that the people who committed criminal acts in January said, oh, well, this is how things are done now. You had a whole summer. It's the same thing. People were upset during the summer. We're upset now. Or let's say there was an actual, like, even more, far more nefarious reason for a lot of these people to commit crimes on that day in January. The problem, however, is for the people who thought that, oh, well, this is just political discourse in the modern world, because look what Democrats or liberals or far left were able to do for an entire summer. The rules don't apply to conservatives at all. You can have CNN with fiery but mostly peaceful. Like a CNN journalist could be in front of a building. That's just fine. That building could be set ablaze, in flames, completely destroyed behind them. Democrats, wonderful, morally superior liberals, won't see the hypocrisy. They will not see the hypocrisy. They simply will not see the hypocrisy. They don't understand that if you say that something is fiery but mostly peaceful and the building is crumbling behind you, it's not peaceful at all and there's something wrong. They don't understand or care about that. Okay? They don't care about that. They think they can get away with everything, and they oftentimes do. The point, however, is that Trump needs to understand that, like, he should have known that day in January. He should have known. And that was just a bad idea. Like, nothing good was going to come from that. And that's the problem, too. Like, He doesn't understand Trump. I love Trump. I think he's fantastic, but he doesn't understand the issue with optics. He doesn't understand the advantages that his adversaries possess. He understands what he's able to accomplish, but he doesn't comprehend or acknowledge or respect the competitive advantages of his adversaries. Now, he doesn't see that. He has to DeSantis maybe sees that better. Who knows? We haven't really seen DeSantis on a national stage, but, he needs to also, like I say, and to my super chat, thank you so very, very much. Like I keep saying, ladies and gentlemen, Trump has to, extend some type of olive branch eventually when the dust settles he has to extend an olive branch when the dust settles in Arizona and Georgia. I think DeSantis would be unstoppable. If DeSantis has the Georgia and Arizona Republican parties on his side, I think he would be unstoppable. That's if he continues to oppose the Lincoln Project, of course, or the Lincoln Project opposes him. For free reign! I agree, Bruce, I agree. Let's see if Michael Schellenberger has another tweet. So this is really, really interesting. Like, all of this stuff it's not just Twitter, it's every platform. You have robots or algorithms or programs that filter speech through the sensibilities of liberal Democrats. That's why you just can't truly speak your mind. That's a problem. That is an issue, ladies and gentlemen. All right, let's see here. Let's do this. Whoa, 1 minute ago. Okay, here. And I told everyone, like in 2018, I said, this is the worst possible thing that could ever, this absurd, stupid message board. I told everyone. And there were certain people, hey, don't talk about the message board. You're a good president. You're a good president. And then I debated one of the people who helped start this absurd, dangerous, stupid message board. I said, do not listen to message boards. Do not listen to message boards. The official pushes for the permanent suspension of Matt Gaetz, even though it does not quite fit anywhere. So they didn't like their political opponents, and they were going to ban their political opponents. That's it. It's kind of a test case for the rationale of banning Trump. I'm trying to talk Twitter's safety removal but none of these incited any criminal activity. That's how they get away with everything. Yeah, the absurd message board is stupid, but nothing. If anything incited criminal activity, the person who incited that or compelled that activity would have already been arrested. That's against the law. That's already against the law. This is what Democrats when they ban people, they don't understand. There are already laws governing speech. You already have laws governing speech. You already have laws governing and putting guidelines and boundaries on free speech. These laws predate Twitter. Free speech used to be so important to people, but now it's like a detriment to the morally superior among us. Exactly, Debbie, exactly. Around 2:30 comes executive to say they don't want to make a big deal of. They fear if we push this, it looks like we're trying to offer something in place of the thing everybody wants, meaning a Trump ban. So this official is getting completely, like, all his biases are being revealed. It's pretty unbelievable. And these, you have to understand, these people who worked at Twitter were Democrats. They were lifelong Democrats. They didn't like Republicans. They did not like Republicans, and they felt that they could get away with everything. Here, just recently, that evening at Twitter, I feel a lot of debates around an exception from the fact that Trump's account is not technically different from anyone else's, yet treated differently due to his personal status without corresponding to Twitter rules. They made up rules that he broke. He didn't break any rules. Trump did not break any rules. That's what this is all about. They had to specifically create a reason. So they said, well, he compelled people to commit crimes. But like I've been saying since for 2 years, he's never been accused of that. And here's a question, okay? Here's a question. Let's do a poll on this. How can Trump benefit from Twitter files 1 through 4 politically? How can Trump benefit politically from this? How can he benefit politically from Twitter files 1 to 4? Complain on Truth Social? Or go on a media tour and talk about it? How can he benefit politically, ladies and gentlemen? I agree with you on that, Don. I agree with you. Can he benefit? Because when people say, like, Democrats love, liberals love to say, or progressive, oh, there are consequences. Yeah, the legal consequences. Everyone agrees um, should exist. These are social, or like, these are consequences where you have government officials silencing speech. You're breaking the First Amendment by doing this. Twitter employees broke the First Amendment. They were breaking First Amendment laws. All and um, you have one journalist who actually sued Twitter. One, an undisclosed amount. He should have sued right after these Twitter files. That would have been amazing. Pony Soldier. Exactly, for free. Exactly, for free reign. Exactly. But I think that, ladies and gentlemen, here, Dave, hello. In the UK, hello. Exactly. He has to bring it to the media. Exactly. Thank you for watching in the UK. To my UK viewers, hello. Um, Here's what has to happen. House Republicans have to investigate. So part of the impeachment of Joe Biden has to be the internal communication and dialogue of Twitter. You cannot silence and suppress the truth about the Democratic Party without hurting and harming the country. You can't silence the truth about the Democratic Party because it only hurts the country. It hurts the United States of America to not be able to discuss the corruption and criminality within the Democratic Party. They're obsessed with criminality with Trump. They can't indict him. You could actually indict Joe based on what Hunter and others around him, just the public record. Joe met with Hunter's business associates. What do you think he was doing? What do you think he was doing? Yeah, he was. I mean, these were business arrangements. Oh, this is a new one too. The evening of January 7th, the same junior employee expressed an unpopular opinion, God bless this person, about ad hoc decisions that don't appear rooted in policy, speaks up one last time before the end of the day. This might be an unpopular opinion, but one-off ad hoc decisions like this that don't appear rooted in policy are, in my opinion, a slippery slope. This now appears to be fiat by an online platform CEO with a global presence that can gatekeep speech for the entire world. Exactly. So there were good, smart, courageous people at Twitter. Not many. Not many. Missy, hello. Missy, hello. Nobody could read that message, but I can. I agree. There were some good people, apparently. Very, you know. I agree with you, Bruce. I agree with you on that. So there were some really good, courageous people at Twitter. Maybe 2 or 5 or 10, who knows? Not many. They had the ability to silence Trump, and they did so. And they did so. And they utilized the tragedies. The Democrats utilize tragedies all the time. When some madman commits an atrocity, they say, you see, the Second Amendment. It's a madman. What compelled this madman? What compelled this person who lost his mind and wants to be known as the most evil human being on this planet to commit such an atrocity? How do we stop this madman? Maybe reciprocal force before you ban and erase the Second Amendment the way you've done with the First Amendment. If Democrats can erase the First and Second Amendment, then everything goes through government they control. Or I should say, everything goes through government morally superior, highly educated liberal Democrats control. Erase the First and Second Amendment, and then the good authorities will help you. When I was on Twitter and somebody threatened me, I went to the police, and the policeman told me, yeah, arm yourself. And this is when I was on the left. And this was another leftist. And so since then, I have taken advantage of my Second Amendment rights. And it's not like you have to own a firearm legally. You have to have like a pristine legal background. That's what people don't understand. Like, it's not like you have to wait. Like in California, you have to wait. Phoebe, hello. You have to wait. Like now, it's probably over a month. Before it was like 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And so this is the thing. I mean, laws. There are already laws. Don, exactly. Hello. I had onion soup last night, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. It was fantastic. Um, Ladies and gentlemen, here's what Trump needs to do, or what DeSantis needs to do, and what House Republicans need to do. They need to investigate or file lawsuits. You can actually even, if you're Trump, file lawsuits against specific individuals because they're making up. They're making up as they go along guidelines. And if they say, well, the Federal Bureau of Investigation or Department of Homeland or House Democrats or the U.S. government, if the U.S. government, if the rebuttal is, well, wait a second, the U.S. government made these Twitter officials ban Trump. That's not an excuse. That's still breaking First Amendment laws. He didn't commit a crime. What crime did Trump commit, and why hasn't he been indicted? What crime did Trump commit? If he was banned, what crime did he commit? I want to know, because the Twitter officials within the Twitter files 4 or 1 through 4 don't list a felony. They don't list any legal statute he broke. Notice how none of these discussions, notice, ladies and gentlemen, and hit subscribe and to my super chat, thank you. Notice how none of these discussions have anything to do with a criminal act that Trump committed. It's always a leap of logic. Well, you know, um, he incited and compelled people. How do you know? And then you have like these hilarious people. Oh, even Twitter says so. Yeah, even all of the 99.9% of far left people running Twitter say so. Wow, that's amazing. That must mean that he did compel people to commit criminal acts. Could you imagine what would happen, ladies and gentlemen, if Republicans did this to Democrats on Twitter? What would happen? What would happen if Republicans ran Twitter and all through that summer they said, no. You know what? This speech is going to compel people to go after federal buildings in Portland or, Pony Soldier! I maybe Rumble? I'm not sure. Probably Rumble. Pony Soldier, thank you! Daniel, thank you. Pony Soldier, thank you so much. Yeah, Zael Golden, hello. In Puerto Rico, hello. To my viewers in Puerto Rico, thank you. Thank you so much for watching. The issue is, imagine the tables were turned. What if Republicans did this to Democrats? What if Republicans banned Democratic representatives that made statements that could be viewed as inciting or compelling criminal acts? You had numerous people say, get in people's faces. And that's the issue. That's the issue, ladies and gentlemen. It's the double standard. It's the hypocrisy, the disingenuous and duplicitous hypocrisy here. So here you have Earlier that day, the employee wrote, "My concern is specifically surrounding the unarticulated logic by the decision of FB. That space fills with the idea that all internet moguls sit around like kings casually deciding what people can and cannot see." That is exactly what happens. That's exactly what they do. So whoever wrote this was very smart. Well, and we'll notice inconsistencies too, linking to an article. Facebook threw away its own rule book to ban Trump. Exactly. That's the problem, ladies and gentlemen, because the truth, here's the thing. They can't actually form a rebuttal against Trump, so they need to ban him. They need to just ban him. He never compelled or told anyone to commit any act. The underlying problem, writes Will Oramus, is that the dominant platforms have always been loath to own up to their subjectivity because it highlights the extraordinary, unfettered power they wield over the global public square. Exactly. But see, the issue, ladies and gentlemen, also, that's obviously a great article that he's citing from a very intelligent person. But the real problem, people, is the following, okay? The real problem is Democrats don't have an answer to Trump. But they're very successful at harming him politically. Does that make any sense? Let me know if that makes sense. Democrats don't have an answer to Trump. They have to ban him, but they're very good at harming him politically. Does that make sense, people? Is this mic on? Blink twice if it makes sense. Bruce, thank you. So Mrs. Jessica V, hello. That's the issue. The issue is that they can't stop him. They can only hope to contain him, like Jordan. But Mikey, thank you. But they need to ban him, and they're very good at hurting him politically. Peter, hello. Steppenwolf, hello. Phoebe, thank you. But there's a part of me that wants to get back on Twitter, but I would waste too much time there. I would just waste too much time. Way too much time. Way too much time. Lisa, hello. They're very good at harming Trump, but they can't actually, there's no actual rebuttal. The best rebuttal to Trump is to just lie about him. That is actually a rebuttal, unfortunately, for Democrats. And places the responsibility for power on their and places the responsibility for that power on their shoulders, so they hide behind an ever-changing rule book, alternately pointing to it when it's convenient and shoving it under the nearest rug when it isn't. Exactly. Exactly. Facebook's suspension of Trump now puts Twitter in an awkward position. If Trump does indeed return to it, the pressure on Twitter will ramp up to find a pretext on which to ban him as well. Indeed, and as Barry's Rice will show tomorrow night, that's exactly what happened. And wow, Michael Schellenberger, wow, wow, wow. Oh my gosh, that wow could compel people to say wow. Oh my God. Wow. That was awesome. Tammy, I agree. That was awesome. No, Eric, you're right. I'm not going to go back on Twitter. You know why? It's a waste of time. The second that you are on Twitter or Truth Social or Facebook, when you are typing a paragraph or a long thought, you're spending time away from your loved ones, work, sports, working out, drawing, painting, poetry, telling somebody you love them. It's a waste of time. It is a waste of time. And it was really hilarious when Twitter, when Elon Musk purchased Twitter, it was kind of hilarious because people were like, oh, what to do, how you can save your tweets. This is how you can save your tweets. Save your tweets for future generations. You think that anyone, even 10 years from now, is going to remember what anyone said on Twitter? Greg, hello. Nice. 4-hour roast. Oh my God. That sounds good. Exactly, Debbie, they are. Anything that thrusts you into, oh my God, you use the word thrust. Anything that thrusts you into an alternate reality is a bad thing. You don't want to be part of an alternate reality. You don't want to start talking to AI robots. Zale Golden, yeah. I wish they did, though. I wish they did. You want to be able to be in reality as long as possible. You know, you want to enjoy reality as long as possible. I think that's an important thing. You know, but ladies and gentlemen, what can I tell you? We'll do about 5 more minutes, then we'll go. I want to just see. So tomorrow, Twitter Files Part 5. Definitely be here for the Files Part 5. I will have an upload in about an hour or so. Thank you. Thank you. I'm not. The only thing I have is my YouTube channels, but I appreciate that. Let's see really quickly. Twitter is both a social media company and a crime scene. This is a great tweet because he's telling you crimes have been committed. You can't team up with government agencies to take down a political rival. Sorry, there are laws protecting. There are definitely FEC laws protecting that. You can't just say, "Oh my God, it was so chaotic." There are laws protecting free speech that predate Twitter. And it's like these laws didn't have to be filtered through the sensibilities of morally superior Twitter employees or officials. Laws were definitely broken. First Amendment laws were broken. Government officials that worked alongside Twitter officials, I think Trump will very likely start suing these people. And that will be very interesting. Very, 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 very interesting. Um, Ladies and gentlemen, hit subscribe to this channel right now. If you want to become a member, please do so. If you want to support my Patreon, that'll be below in the description. I agree with you, Jesse. He's awesome. He is awesome. Musk is awesome. You want to give a super thanks? The super thanks is below. We are almost at 201,000 subs. If you know about 180 people, I'll be at 201,000 subs. So thank you, everybody. Be here in about an hour. I'll have an upload in about an hour. And I will have segments on H.A. Goodman's other channel and the Stock Market Crash channel. Thanks, everybody. God bless you all. Have a great evening. Be here tomorrow at 5:45 p.m. Okay, be here tomorrow at 5:45 p.m. Eric Samurai, thank you. Thanks, everybody. Love trucks. Thanks, everybody. Senior Toulouse and everybody here. Voice of reason, I know. It's Goon Tune, thank you. It is unfortunate, but I appreciate everybody's support. Thanks, everybody. God bless. I'll see you tomorrow. 5